Okay, we're gonna do a little word association. If I was to say the word SUNY Cortland to you, what are the first kind of memories that stick out, or some experiences that you had at your time at the college?
Well, of course, if you say SUNY Cortland, immediately I think Red Dragon. In the office, there's a good amount of Ithaca bombers, so like there's that back and forth banter.
Right, right.
But in terms of Cortland memories, the student life center definitely plays a big part. One, because I feel like my role now is interacting with clients and things like that. And in the student life center where I worked previously, it provided me the opportunity to like just open up and talk to people that's working out, whether older, younger, so on and so forth kind of thing.
Right.
So the student life center definitely plays a big part. Mac, that was probably my favorite place when first transferring to SUNY Cortland.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess just different parties that took place in Corey Union. I'm
Right.
pretty sure that place looks different now.
I'm sure it looks different every time I go in there. So yeah, I'm sure it's way different from when you were there. What are some of the lessons you learned while you're at your time at Cortland? You know, if it was one specific class or a professor or two, things that you took with you out into the professional setting.
Yeah. That's a good question. I would say I can't remember what course it is, and I don't know. I think I've spoken to a couple of students, and they said it's not offered anymore. Where, similar to like your internship credit, but during the semester where you have to do certain courses and where you have to do a specific course and participate in like whether it's events or just I got the opportunity to work with Jacqueline, associate or assistant over in the athletics department.
Jacqueline Lawrence?
Yeah. And that class basically taught me how to be involved in more things. So like, of course, it starts off where like you sign up for a specific event and you get to work that event.
But if you're talking practicum?
Yeah, it might be practicum.
Yeah.
And with that class, it just gave me the opportunity to, I guess, get myself involved more, one with the school, because I was a transfer. So I had went to a previous school. So it allowed me the opportunity to be more familiar with like different sports in the school, to just flat out hard work. Because like if you wanted a specific time, you had to get to her door at a specific time to sign your name off and things like that.
Right.
So like being the first there and basically just outworking everybody, where say in between like the winter breaks, they would be like basketball games and things like that. If she needed a hand, I definitely make myself available, even though I live in Brooklyn, New York, to drive up there and help her out. More so just to help her out.
Just going above and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about maybe your first position, maybe internship outside of the school, and maybe what obstacles you had to overcome to break into the industry?
Yeah. My first internship outside of the school was with Syracuse University. Funny how we come back to that.
Yeah.
And it started off as like a marketing internship where it was more so promotional based. During games was really the only time in which you worked, throwing out shirts and things like that. Our internship requires a certain amount of hours completed. Mm-hmm. So at that point in time, I had to ask them like for more hours, which helped me to learn a little bit more about the sports industry itself. So again, I was more so on the promotional side, which is like game day staff. Then I got to go into like field operations and helping, whether it's set up hockey games or soccer games, so on and so forth, basketball games. And then 3, which caters to the role that I'm in now, like in them seeing me do like the marketing stuff, the field operations and interacting with fans. One of my mentors had basically recommended me to come on to his like night sales / like just observing his sales team do things, which got me into the sales role. And more so having a mentor, you ask them advice on where you should go in the future. He led me in the realm of like staying in sales. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would say got my foot in the door in sales. And then I continued to pursue other opportunities within sales.
Yeah. Your current position with the New York Mets is obviously been heavily affected by COVID-19, as has pretty much the whole world. And I know
Mhm.
you kind of spoke about this when you talked to our strategic management class, but for those of us that weren't able to be a part of that, can you kind of talk about how the coronavirus has affected both the Mets franchise as a whole and then also your day-to-day responsibilities with the franchise?
My team, the ticket sales staff, very tight knit. So like very interactive. Like we mix personal and professional. Like you'll catch us basically doing everything together, similar to like a sports team where if you spend a certain amount of time with people, like you guys just end up doing everything together. So it was like that. It's tough to go through something like this now because one, it's only but so much a Zoom call can do. Like the
Right.
jokes that we would make, like the laughs, the handshakes, things like that we've built. It's not the same as of right now, although we do have to adjust. And I guess just the ultimate culture of the Mets, like they're very like people first oriented,
Mhm.
and it's tough to really understand what somebody's going through a 30-minute or an hour worth of Zoom calls where
Right.
you're in the office. It's more so seeing them on a regular basis, and you could just stop by and like just ask somebody a question. As far as business goes, as you could imagine, with New York being the state that got hit the hardest,
Right.
things open up later than other states. To clients purchase tickets already, and given the current state of the climate, like they aren't able to come out to games because New York State, well, I don't want to only blame it on New York State, but like they aren't able to come out to games given the situation of the pandemic. So in terms of affecting, directly affects us. So I guess we're unable to conduct business as usual right now.
Right. Right. Um, where do you see yourself maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line? Do you see yourself wanting to stay with the Mets organization, stay in sales, move up the ladder? Where do you see Howard Cole in a few years, ideally?
Uh, I see Howard Cole in the next 5 years eventually owning a business. I wish I could tell you of what type, but like definitely owning a business. Of course, being promoted is key right now,
Mhm.
but I don't let that alter like other visions in which I have for myself as well.
Yeah. That kind of is going to transition to my next question. Ever since you came and spoke to us in our strategic management class, you and I became connected on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And on a daily basis, you are one of my favorite connections on
I
LinkedIn because of
appreciate
the positivity, the inspiration. I mean, you're putting up these quotes every day. And I'm just curious, maybe from a personal standpoint, who or what instilled that in you to be so positive and so inspirational to people that you don't even really know?
Yeah. Uh, when the pandemic hit, I think a lot of people took it as like a wait and see approach. I took it as like all right, let me use this time to build myself, which put me to reading more books, doing things like the posts on Monday through Friday. And it's more so building like myself. So like I use that as a motivational tool as well. So like although I write it, there's times in which I have to go back to certain things that I have posted
Yeah.
just to use it as motivation to stay positive and things like that. Because world, things happen, things don't. Like I don't want that to alter how I continue to grow. So like,
Sometimes the only things we can control are, how we're thinking, how we're feeling on a day-to-day basis, especially when it feels like there's nothing we really can do. So
yeah,
just from a personal standpoint, I really appreciate those posts. And I'm sure a lot of other people that are connected to you really appreciate the inspiration on a daily basis.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think probably my last question for you is kind of a generic question that most students would ask alumni. Um, what do you think is the best piece of advice you could give for a graduating senior in today's class? Or what is something that you wish somebody had told to you when you were coming out of college that would help you?
Yeah. Best piece of advice, what I would say it's important that you try to understand what it is that you want to do. And when you understand that, like, you have to take ownership in your personal development. So like, for instance, with me, although I had like my mentor in the sales role, like, I was a person that wanted to get it on my own. So like, I put myself out there. I was on Teamworks. I reached out to people, but like like, I had a lot of interviews, but I just wasn't getting it. So like, I took ownership in like reaching out to people on LinkedIn, increasing your network, just to get a better understanding as to like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, how can I make that happen? So I had reached out to the director of inside sales over in Portland, Oregon, and we had that communication, and he opened my eyes as to what I needed to do, took more ownership in my development, and was able to get a position based off of that.
That's a great bit of advice. And I've been doing a couple of these alumni interviews recently, and it seems like the successful people, both in their professional careers and then also just life in general, you can't be successful just doing the bare minimum. You have to take that next step. You have to go above and beyond and really want it and work for it. And I'm just glad that you kind of echoed those sentiments, because that's what I'm getting from pretty much all the successful people that I've been talking to recently.
Yeah, and never settle for less than your best.
Absolutely. Howard, I thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me. You are a well-deserved Alumni of the Month, absolutely. Like I said, I love being connected to you on LinkedIn, and hopefully more people will be able to kind of know about you and learn about you through this interview.
Hopefully. I appreciate you, man. Continue to do great things, and I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact that you're going to excel in whatever you want to do.
Thank you very much. Let's stay connected, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Take it easy, Howard.
Bye.
Bye.